Hello and welcome to my channel. There are some times that you want to separate the words in a cell. For example, to create two different columns for the departure and the arrival city, or four different columns for full name, title, country, and city, or create three different columns for full name, username, and domain. And finally, something more complicated for the departure and the arrival city, like the orange and blue rows that are not just single words. We'll learn how to do this quickly and correctly, along with some tips and Excel magic that will make out life easier. Let's see the simplest case. Here we have the column A cells that we want to break into different columns. First, insert a blank column next to column A. Then select the cells, go to the Data tab, and click the Text to Columns button. A wizard appears to help with the steps. At the first step, we choose that our data to separate in the cells have a delimiter character to distinct one word from the other. And click Next. Deselect the tab checkbox and select the space because that's the delimiter for our data. It is good practice to look at the data preview below to see if it's okay, and then click Next. In our case, we don't need the second column, so we click on the second column in the preview and choose not to import it. Then click Finish. At the question, we click OK because the column A will be replaced by the departure city. Let's go to the second sheet. In this case, we have something similar, but the delimiter is different, and there is something more we'll see next that we must take care of. Let's say we want to split column B into four columns for the full name, job title, country, and city. As before, let's insert three new columns next to column B. Next, select the data we want to split and click the Text to Columns button. In the first step, we choose that the data are delimited and click Next. In the second step, we click comma and not space and check the data preview below if it is okay and click Next. In the third step, there is nothing more to do than click Finish. Again, we must click OK and it is almost over. Why you almost? Because, for example, if you double-click in cell C2, you will see that there is a space character after the word and a space character before. This is something that cannot be seen easily, but it may create confusion and produce wrong results in data manipulation. For example, in the case of filters or some text functions. So we must remove all the spaces except the single spaces between words in a cell. We will do it for all the data that were created by the text to columns, and for this, we will use the trim function. First, click on a blank cell next to your data, in this case, cell H2. Go to the Formulas tab, click the Text button, and select the Trim function. Select the first cell that you want to clean of the extra spaces, if any, in our case, cell B2, and click OK. Double-click the Fill handle to fill down, and drag the Fill handle to the right for the next three columns. Now everything is cleaned of all spaces except for one space between words in a cell. Now copy the results area and paste as values at the original cells. Be certain to paste as values for the procedure to be completed correctly. At the end, delete the data cells you have on the right. Now let's see another example. In the third sheet. Suppose we want to have three distinct values for full name, username, and domain. As you see, we don't have one delimiter, but two, the semicolon and the @ sign. This time, we do not want the results next to column B, but in the blank columns on the right. We will execute the text to columns for the semicolon delimiter and the @ sign delimiter. Select the data cells, text to columns, proceed to step 2, and use the semicolon as one delimiter and the @ sign that you have to type here as the other. At the final step, choose as destination the cell H2. and click Finish. One final note. Do not forget to trim all the results, because there may be some extra spaces here and there in the cells. In our case, this is true at the left of the word in every data cell in column I. So use the trim function as before. So click on K2, Formulas, Text button, Trim function, and click cell H2. Fill down. Fill 2 columns on the right, and copy-paste the results as values in cell H2. Delete columns K to M, and that's all. And for the end, at the 4th sheet, there is something more complicated for the departure and the arrival. Look at the orange and blue rows. That city names are not just single words, as we saw at the first example. Here, we have to think a little out of the box. What is the delimiter here? It's the word to, but to is not one character. So first, we must replace all the instances of to with some character that will work as delimiter. For example, comma, or semicolon, or pound sign, etc. Before we decide the kind of character we will use, we must check our data that this character is nowhere else. There may be hundreds or thousands of rows and not so few as in this example, so using the I is not practical. For example, let's use the semicolon as delimiter. First, use the Find tool to check if the semicolon sign is somewhere in the data. If not, the semicolon is a perfect candidate to replace the to word. Or else, try with another candidate character for delimiter. Now let's use the Replace tool. In Find What box, type to, and in the Replace With box, type the semicolon. But be careful. This way, you will replace also the to in Tokyo, or in Stockholm. So in Find What, type space to space, because this will locate only the to that as a whole word. And then click the Replace All button. The rest is as you already know. Insert a blank column. Select the cells. Text to Columns button. Use the semicolon as the delimiter. And finish. Don't forget to trim the results in case of unwanted spaces. Thank you for watching. You can find the link to the Excel file below in the description in case you want to test yourself. You are welcome to send your comments or questions, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.